All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the stream. My name is Charles. I work with a company called Piratetraders, and I'm here today on the Bookmap channel to talk about the ES and the NQ on the market profile and the Bookmap and see what kind of insights we can get moving forward for the day. So we got a bit of time here before the market opens. We got a half an hour. So why not just take the time that we have to step back and give ourselves a little perspective on what's going on with the market? Okay, what has the market been doing and what is it likely to do next? So the best place to start, I think, would be with the daily. So first and foremost, this area that we're at right now, around the 4,200 area, has been very, very important for the market over the last, little over a year or so. Again and again and again, this area has acted as support and resistance where the market has run out of steam and turned around and head back down. Now, back in June, July of last year, when we failed here, we were heading all the way back down towards the 3,700 area multiple times, okay? But then the last few times that we've come up here, we haven't had to fail quite as far down. That is a signal that the market might finally be ready to break out to the upside. Whenever you have an area that is acting as strong support resistance, one thing that Jim Dalton does is he describes it as a semi-permeable membrane, meaning the more times that you poke and poke and poke at it, the stronger that it becomes. Sorry about the construction noise. So this could be the one, right? We've been poking and poking and poking at this thing over and over again. Maybe this is finally the one that can break to the upside. If not, we would look for a big pullback, right? Because we've failed here again and again, and it has caused a large pullback. That is what we would expect if we fail here once again. All right, so now that we've got the bigger picture, looking at the daily, let's zoom in a little bit. So what we've been stuck in over the last few months is a very tight trading range where the market has basically been stuck inside this range right here. We pushed up into it, tried to poke through, couldn't do it, headed back down to the opposite end of the range, head back up, give it another go, tried to poke through, got through but couldn't stay above, failed back down to the opposite end of the range, and then we just did it again. Broke out of that range, and then in the overnight, we kind of pulled back down over the weekend to test that breakout area there. So we've got this white box here, which is that larger balance area over the last few months. And then we've got this smaller box right here, which is over the last few, or basically the last 2 months. And then even smaller than that, we can zoom in and we can see that the market was in balance in an even tighter range over the last few weeks, and we also broke out of that range. So on all three ranges, the very, very large range that we're looking at on the monthly, we have a potential to break out. The smaller range on the monthly, we have a potential to break out. And the range on the weekly, we have a potential to break out. So all of those things set us up to potentially make a large move to the upside if the market can keep this momentum going. Okay, great. So what do we need to do now? Well, let's zoom in even more and let's figure out what's going on with the momentum. Well, clearly we have momentum on a larger basis because we keep leaving all these weak references behind. Okay, we came down, we almost filled a previous gap, but failed to fill it by one single tick. Then we created another gap. And then look at this, nothing but poor low, weak lows, weak lows, weak lows, all the way up. Okay, so that tells us that since we were down here around the 4061 area, this thing has had momentum. Okay, it's been just building and building and building to the upside. So we recognize that at some point, this momentum is going to come to an end, and we're likely to need to start to try to repair some of this weakness. But as long as the momentum continues, there's no reason to worry about the weakness. Let's stay focused on the momentum. So how do we read that momentum? Well, we're looking at the daily over the last few days. We have had higher highs and higher lows the last 3 days in a row. That is a sign of momentum to the upside. We've also had overlapping to higher value 3 days in a row. That is a sign of momentum to the upside. Okay. So all of those things are a sign of momentum to the upside. What's the other one? The when what should happens doesn't, right? Leaving behind all this weakness again and again and not needing to come back for it is a sign the market still has momentum. So as we get ready to open the market this morning, what am I thinking in terms of momentum? Well, because we have the breakout inside the breakout inside the breakout that we just talked about on the daily, right? That gives us a potential reason for the market to have continuation higher. Okay. So if I look at the daily, in the market profile and I see we have that momentum, we had it still at the end of the day yesterday or on Friday, then that's a reason to think we could keep it going. So now the next question is, how will I measure if it is still going? And that I will use the overnight range. So yesterday we opened with a gap up and the market got itself a little bit overly long, a little bit too fast and had to pull back down, but they barely pulled down at all. And then they spent most of the day basically chopping around inside the previous day's spike. That's actually bullish to see. The spike is a sign of momentum. So the fact that we barely had to pull below that and then turned it into support is bullish for continuation higher. So then I look at the overnight market over the weekend. How did the market trade over the weekend? Well, would you look at that? Most of the time and most of the volume right there above the base of that spike up from Thursday, right? They dipped down. They tested lower levels. They liquidated, but there were buyers waiting. They spent no time, brought in no volume whatsoever, and buyers were instantly there to bring it right back up. So to me right now, this is bullish as long as we can stay above the base of that spike. Okay? As long as we can stay above 41.99. Anything above that is bullish to me because it is a sign that we still have all this momentum I've been talking about. As long as they can hold this area in the regular trading hours today, they can keep it going. They could push the market much higher. So I'm going to watch this area right here where the overnight spent all the time and brought in all the volume around 4,200 very, very closely this morning. And as long as that continues to act as support, now I don't know exactly where, but somewhere in there it acts as support and the market starts to turn around, that would be very bullish to me. Okay. If the market starts to pull back down below there, so if the market pulls below 4,200, well, then I'd think, okay, we need to head back and repair that first week reference we left behind yesterday and see if that's enough. If that's enough, cool, I'll get bullish once again. If not, I start to monitor for continuation lower from there. Okay, so this level right here around 4,200 is the really important level to me. If they can hold it, they can keep the momentum going in the daily, which would mean higher highs on the daily today. So that level breaking would mean the opposite. In a when what should happens doesn't. If they don't still have the momentum, if they can't keep this momentum going to the upside, well then, dun, 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 one after another, we start pulling back and repairing weak references. And the way we monitor for continuation is we basically just assume we probably need to repair the next one. And if it is, we wait and see. So if we repair, we come down here, we push below that level, that 4,200 level, we come down, we repair that first week reference, we start to come back up, maybe that's all we needed. But if we start to push back down, well, then we know we got to come to the next one. So then it comes down, it repairs that next one, gets below it. If it starts to pull back up, maybe that's all we need. But if it starts coming down again, well, then it's coming for the next one. And then if it repairs that again and again and again, that's called monitoring for continuation lower. So we assume it needs to test each one of these levels, and then we wait to see what happens when it does. Does it just push below and then turn around and come right back up? In which case that might be all it needed to do was repair that one, and now we're ready to head back up. Or does it keep going? In which case, you know it's the next and the next and the next. Good morning, $6 million man, Cortman, chillin' with Dylan, Jay, Laura, the spam bot. Thanks for hanging out, spam bot. Cortman, Frito, Luciano, and Jerry. Welcome. 55 people watching, 12 likes. Let's get some thumbs up for the Bookmap channel. A little thumbs up for the Bookmap. It's worth taking a quick second here and just taking a look at NQ as well. That coffee. All right. So Bookmap, NQ looking very, very bullish here. So I would describe the ES as being right here in its equivalent on the NQ. This to me is that larger balance area that we were talking about on the monthly. This is that larger balance area on the multi-month. That is that larger balance area, or that smaller balance area on the weekly. And that was last week the breakout. So when you hear me talk about the ES and say like, you know, all of these different things mean we could get continued excess, this is what I'm talking about. That, you know, in an equivalent way, this could be those last few days of last week, right? That it could have just been that setup for the bigger slingshot to the upside because we're breaking out of that larger balance area. That's what that was, right? This little pullback on the 15th. The 12th. That little pullback was the market back testing all of that balance, back testing that larger balance inside a balance, right? That was that back test. So that move to the upside out of there is what the ES could, I'm guessing, I don't know yet, it hasn't happened, but could potentially be set up for right here. This could be that move. Boop, boop. You guys see that? So that puts the NQ and the ES in a very different position. The ES could easily fail and start coming back down, but the NQ has succeeded. So now it's a matter of when are we going to run out of excess, right? We broke out. We successfully broke out. We successfully got excess from that breakout. Look at that big move to the upside. That is excess. So now the question is, when do we need to balance off this excess and how? Okay, so there's two different ways you can balance off excess. One is using price, where the market would pull back with price. The other is using time, where the market could just go sideways at a higher price. So when I'm zooming in to look at the NQ, that's the question I'm asking myself. Also, just wanted to mention this morning, I decided to switch the NQ over to 4-tick increments because it was just becoming a little too elongated. It was becoming hard to read. So I smooshed it on down. Okay, so we had this channel right here that the market was in, and we've broken out of that. So that's the market getting itself a little bit long, a little bit overextended. Okay. But just like the ES, we have higher highs, higher lows, 3 days in a row, well, like 5 days in a row, and value higher or overlapping to higher. Okay. So that, like the ES, is a sign that on Friday, we still had that momentum. They were still making higher highs and higher lows. They still had that momentum. Now, the very first sign that that momentum could be coming to an end is the overnights. The way the overnight on Thursday night is much lower than the overnight over the weekend. That's a first signal that that momentum is weaning, right? Before, the overnights were higher each overnight session. Now one's lower. Okay, wait a second. We might be running out of steam. I would also say on the NQ, unlike the ES, the NQ is now beneath that big node from the overnight and from last week. So whereas on the ES, I want that to act as support, on the NQ, it would be resistance. So it would be, if the market pushes up into it, can it break through? If not, bearish. Okay. We could consider that a 45-degree angle on the overnight. So whilst they did leave a poor high behind, that to me is bearish for resistance. So you're likely looking at a chop zone in the overnight range for the NQ. If they get below yesterday's low, so if they get below 13,809, then you should get bearish. Why? Because we know that that excess is going to come to an end. They can't go straight up forever. And the first signal we will get in the regular trading hours is if we make a new low. So if we know that making a new low tells us that the market is either going to go sideways or it's going to pull back with price, we certainly don't want to be bullish, right? We want to either be neutral, assuming it's going to keep chopping and going sideways in the range, or we want to be monitoring for continuation to the downside. And just like the ES, the NQ has left a lot of weakness behind. Multiple sets of single prints, weak lows, lots and lots to repair on a pullback. Okay? Look at that. 2 poor lows in a row. A weak low and a poor low. So same thing as the ES. We're gonna give the bulls a chance. We're going to say, hey, you made higher highs and higher lows last week. Maybe you've got it. Maybe you can keep it going. But man, if we make a new low, we're going to start monitoring for continuation on a pullback. Cortman says, swarm of New York City bees. I actually did see a bee in my windowsill yesterday. Is there a thing? Is there a thing happening right now? The God Particles is first time here. Great content so far. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. I'm here every Monday. Come hang out. Alt, good morning to you. Chilling with Dylan says, I also switched NQ to 4 ticks. Great minds think alike. Yeah, I just opened it up this morning and I was like, this is ridiculous. It was, these 2 days range were so big. I was like, I can't even see. I got us. And as soon as I smushed it in, I was like, oh, now I get it. I see what's happening here. I mean, this is just good old-fashioned momentum. Pushing up, building volume. Pushing up, building volume. Pushing up, building volume. But they left that weakness behind. All right, 10 minutes until the market open. Oh, the next door sounds like killer bees. Any questions for me? I mean, that's all the prep I need. So if you guys are wondering where I'm at, I'm basically looking at, the overnight range is a chop zone here on the ES. So obviously I'm looking for support, 41.99, and I'm looking for resistance. I would just say as a look above and fail of the overnight high. So I'm looking for them to test that overnight high and then see, do we bring in new buyers there? If not, it's chop. And we'll just chop, choppity, chop it on up until we can break one of those two levels. Now, if we push below 41.99 and we start getting new sellers there, like I said, I'm bearish to start repairing weak references and monitor for continuation lower. Or if we find support above the overnight high, but in between, they're going to chop it up. It's a chop zone. Tom Gunn put up some pirate flags and got a warning from the Nightbot. Don't you worry about that Nightbot, Tom Gunn. Those pirate flags are always welcome. Scooball, hello to you. Jason says, sounds like the Nightbot needs more pirate flags. Yeah, I think every one of you should spam the Nightbot with a pirate flag right now. I think we should just tell the Nightbot who's in charge here. Okay, who's the captain now, Nightbot? It said, I'm not scared. That's funny. Maya says, may I know which program you were using for Orderflow? It is Bookmap. you've come to the right place. The very channel that's providing you this stream at this very moment. So that is the software that you see on the right side of my screen over here. And not a lot happening in there right now because the market hasn't opened yet. But once the market opens, you just watch what happens with the liquidity in here. It'll start giving us some insights as to where the buyers and sellers are and where they're looking to do business. And the left side is market profile software. It's from a company called Trader. It's basically the same thing as candlesticks. It just puts it in 3 dimensions. So it allows you to see price. It allows you to see time and volume at each price level. So you see where there's these big fat nodes right here from the overnight and from Friday, where there's a bunch of letters. That's where the market spent the most time. And then you can see the volume profile. That's where they brought in the most volume. Same place. So what does that tell us? Well, they like doing business here. They're probably going to keep doing business here. It's probably going to be a lot of chop, a lot of grind up and down in this area. It's going to take a bit of momentum to break out. And that's why we call it a chop zone. Because we assume as long as they're still inside this yellow box, it's just going to be up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down until you go mad, and then they'll break one way or the other. We got 100 brave souls hanging out. 2 minutes to market open. 42 likes. 4 plus 4 equals 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. Get after it. Let's smash that like button. No, 2 people just left. They were like, no thanks. Goodbye. All right, we are off to the races. Let the chop begin. So they're starting off the chop this morning by leaving an incredibly weak low behind, as is to be expected. So now we're looking for resistance around 42.08 and a pullback down to that opening price. Scalping Strategy says good morning to everyone, and everyone says good morning to you, Scalping. We're all here to make some money today. We know we got to let the market shop this morning, okay? We were all aware of this. We're like, we get it. The market's going to be nuts for the first few minutes. It's going to go up and down. It's going to grind and grind inside this overnight range. But if we can either keep the excess going to the upside, in which there will be opportunities on the long side, or if we can run out of momentum and start to pull back and repair some weakness, there'll be some opportunities to the downside. Well, then that's fine. We'll just let the market chop and we'll wait for those opportunities to present themselves later on in the day. Makes for very exciting live streaming. All right, so we got a little pop of short covering here. It's got us above the overnight high. That is bullish to see. So now the question is, do we just look above that overnight high and fail and pull right back down? In which case we would expect more chop. Or can we bring in new buyers up here above the overnight high and keep that momentum going on the daily? We also just re-entered the old single prints, so we are likely now to find resistance at 42.16, the base of those single prints, and then we'll look to see what happens when they come back to test that overnight high. Charles, shouldn't I be FOMOing into a long trade right now? No. No, you should not. Right? That was just short covering. If they're really going to have momentum, they will prove support. NQ also above the overnight high. That is bullish to see. So same thing. Can they hold it? Can they turn 13,880 into support? Right, Chow? Another weak high right at the base of the singles. All right. Well, I certainly would not suggest chasing it with a trade right now, but I am now bullish. That is what I was looking to see. How we handled the base of that single prints down, whether it smacked the market back down or not, and it did not. So that is a sign of new buyers at the high, which is bullish to see. So I am bullish. I would wait for a pullback to buy it, though. It is still all short covering here. But when they do pull back, I think it'll be a good opportunity to buy. The bulls have the momentum. They had it all last week, and they still have it this morning. Let's take a look at the NQ. Same thing. If they can hold that halfback, 13,877, I'd remain bullish on the Q. Frito says, should have FOMO'd in like a crazy person? No, of course not. What if it had just gotten smacked down at the base of those single prints and come crashing back through the opening price? That pop that we got up, that little instant pop up, we could have gotten that exact same momentum straight back down. Best to wait for the market to give you the signal, then look for the opportunity. Even if that means you miss them from time to time, it's still a better way to do it. Alan says, what do you mean by single prints? Well, if you look at what happened on Friday, the market opened up here at basically where we are right now, 42.19. And we spent the first 2 hours or so of the day, or first hour and a half or so of the day, just kind of chopping around up here, just kind of grinding around up in these upper levels. And the market was trying to figure out, did we have enough buyers to keep it going higher, or did we need to pull back looking for those buyers at a lower price? And it turned out we did. Well, the level where that decision was made was what we call the base of the D period single prints down, right here at 42.16. So at the moment that that happened, they were a sign that the market had momentum to the downside. Okay, so what we think about once we see that happen is we assume that if the market comes back up and it starts to get back inside those single prints, which it did right here in the A period, okay, once it gets back inside those single prints, the most likely next thing to happen is that the market will backfill them. Okay. All right. So first low volume node is backfilled. We're looking for support at 42.14. Can they hold it? So the first thing we expect the market to do when it comes back up through those levels is to head up to the base of the spike down, the single prints down. Okay. That's that 42.16 level. But oftentimes, if the momentum really is to the downside, it will get rejected and continue lower from there. So what I said this morning was when we got above that overnight high, I very much expected that we were going to get up and fill those single prints. But it's what happened at the base that mattered to me. Did we get smacked back down, or were we able to push through? Well, we were able to push through, so that's bullish. So now I assume the bulls are in control of the market, because if they were not, they would have got smacked down there. So if the bulls are in control, they're just looking for support to buy. Is it 42.14, or do we need to head back down to 42.10? Let's find out. Alan says, so what do I look at? You look for literally where there's just a letter by itself, okay, in the middle of the range. So if you've got more than one letter above, more than one letter below, it's single prints. All right, so 42.14 did not hold. We're now looking at that overnight high. 42.10 for support there. Okay, starting to backfill some of those low volume nodes. Okay, so we found some support. We didn't quite test 42.10, but we did find some support above it. So now do we turn 42.14 into resistance or pass right back through? Will says NQ is so high it must be smoking something. You know you can get gummies nowadays. Let's take a look at the Q. Oh, yeah. There you go, folks. NQ, higher highs, higher lows. Value overlapping to higher. You have a continuation of the momentum on the daily. That is bullish. Boom, 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 boom. They've still got it. Buyers remain in control on the Q. That is bullish to see. Next major resistance around 14,150. Just make note of this. This is a lot of excess. So as long as they've got the momentum, we're not going to fight them. We're going to let them push the market as far as they want. But they're going to come back for this at some point. And it'll probably look something like this right here, where it's like we get this big leg higher and it just keeps going and going and going, but then we come back for it later. So they could really pump this thing. But at some point, we're coming back. That's, of course, on the daily, not the intradaily. Intradaily, you're looking for support at Friday's high. 13,930 for continuation. Scalping Strategy says, Charles, I went back to your YouTube videos and found you are dead on with direction. Thank you. It is true. If you go back and you watch the first 10 minutes every day, like if at the end of the day you go back and replay it, you will be shocked how often in the first 10 minutes I will have laid out 3 scenarios of what could happen that day, and one of those 3 will have happened. Like day after day. It's like, holy shit. Yeah. He said this was one of the 3 that could have happened. And now I might be wrong about which one of the 3 I think is going to happen. I might say I think it's going to go higher and it ends up going lower, but it will go lower how I said it would. It will. And that comes from thinking in probabilities, not being too fixated on believing I'm right. Screwball says, wait, market can only go in 3 directions? You got it, dude. Every day. The market is either going to go up, it's going to go down, or it's going to go sideways. As long as you have an idea of what it would look like if it goes up, what it would look like if it goes sideways, what it would look like if it goes down, be a little bit easier if it's happening. Here's a perfect opportunity. If this market is going to keep going up, they should find support here at the overnight high. So far, they are. So it's bullish. But if they fail and they start to pull back down into that overnight range, well, then the information changes and I change my mind. But since before the market even opened, I said if they could get above the overnight high and find support, I'd be bullish. Well, now that we're above the overnight high, finding support, I should be bullish. Random note for the internals nerds out there. When you see contradicting candlesticks in the breadth and the advanced reverse decliners, it is often a sign you can't trust them. So the breadth is going sideways, almost looking like it wants to start going higher, while the advanced reverse decliners are going lower. The one is pushing away from the zero line, while the one is pulling closer to it. So in my mind, we got to ignore these today. They're going to send too many contradictory signals, but we can remain focused on the ticks. All right, here we go. Can they hold it? Okay, so what we're looking for now is a bounce right back up above that overnight high, 42.10. We don't want to spend time grinding around inside the overnight range. Man, this is the worst time to end the stream. We're right on the razor's edge. So the next few hours are being decided in the next few moments. Can they get these ticks back above the zero line? Can they get price back above that overnight high? If so, it's bullish and they can keep it going. But if we pull, well, here we go. If we pull back down and we stay below the zero line, then it's more chop. And we're going to spend probably the next few hours going sideways. What's it going to be, market? What's it going to be? Patrick says, hey, if they need to stay with you, they can just join the brigade. I know, it's me. I don't want to switch. I'm so curious. Is this thing going to hold or not? Do we have another day of momentum to the upside or a boring sideways day? All right, it's not holding. So that is back in the chop zone. Choppity, choppity, chop zone once again. Sorry about that, guys. Was hoping we could get that momentum. So let's jump over here and take a look at the Q really quickly and see how that's doing. Okay, so Q is still bullish. They've so far been bringing in buyers above yesterday's high. That's bullish. So now you're looking to see, can you turn half back into support? 13,899. Call it 13,900. If they can hold that, it's still bullish. Remember, they made higher highs and higher lows. The ES didn't quite pull it off, but they did. So the buyers are in control. Are they waiting at 13,400? Or sorry, 13,900. With that, I will bid you farewell. As far as the ES is concerned, I'm right back to the way I saw it this morning with the chop zone. So as long as it's above 41.98, it's just going to go sideways in here. Okay. But I wouldn't be getting bearish, not at all. I would just be thinking I'm only going to get bearish if we get below that level, because we may have just squeezed a bunch of longs, got them to cover. A bunch of shorts, and now we're giving those stronger hand buyers a chance to get in. So looking for sideways on the ES and only getting bearish below 41.98. Good luck. Thank you all for joining. If you're a member of the brigade, head on over to the private stream. I'll see you there. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.